Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of So Recently. I'm Miranda, and I'm joined by my buddy Matt. And today we'll be talking about getting swole.
Yes. Yep. That's my topic. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good intro.
Thank you. So, yeah, I thought the topic of getting swole would be approached at some point. But Matt.
Yeah. And who would have guessed it would be me to introduce it?
I know,
someone who is absolutely not in that category. But
well, I mean, you have a squat rack.
I do. Yeah. So the topic this week is about weightlifting because I'm trying to actively weightlift again, which is like an on and off thing for me. But I feel like you know that, but it's been rough the past year. I haven't done anything. So I'm trying to get back into it. And I'm exaggerating, but it's been bad. So.
Well, okay, so I got a couple questions about all that. One, why weightlifting? Like, I know a lot of people like want to be healthy and work out, whether it's, I think it's more common to go running or, do more cardio-based exercising to stay in shape or just stay healthy. What about weightlifting draws you to that? Like, what is it about it?
Yeah, so stuff I like about weightlifting, stuff I don't like first about other activities. My cardio is not that great. It actually is has a solid baseline because I was a swimmer for quite a while. So that's all solid, but man, I hate running. I want to get into running and I try it every so often, and maybe that'll be a podcast in 3 months if I try and pick it up.
I mean, same. I've been trying.
Yeah, and it sucks. It hurts my knees, it hurts my ankles. Yeah, I'm pretty tall, so it's not terribly comfortable to run long term.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Because my joints just end up hurting. So that being said, that's also a problem with weightlifting. But either way, it makes me not want to do it. And a while back, I was a lot more active with swimming, right? But then I kind of wanted to do something different as I stopped swimming in high school and kind of went through college. Weightlifting also, obviously, you can get jacked. You can look good. Still work in progress. But I've definitely built muscle since I started weightlifting in comparison to me in high school / me in college. Yeah. So I think that's the obvious answers, right? Stay in shape, get jacked. That's cool. Very cool.
Look good.
But I think it's pretty fun because it's almost clinical in the way you work out. You walk in, you have your particular workout most likely, and you just follow it. And it's not like a run where on any given run, I might feel oh, my side hurts, so I'm slowing down, or I have to turn early because there's construction on the sidewalk and I need to go a different route, or many of the different things that would make a standard run feel very tricky to keep consistent. I also feel depending on in a run, depending on the day, I might just not be down for the amount of distance or the speed or anything. Whereas when I come into weightlift, there's a very specific prescription, right? Of this is what you're lifting today. You're doing it for this many reps. You're doing this movement. You are racking the bar and you're doing it again after 2 minutes. And it's very, very almost dictated to me of this is what you're doing. So you have to do it. Does that make sense?
I was actually going to ask you about that. How did you find the right regimen? I'm assuming, okay, I'll give some context. I have some basic knowledge of weightlifting. I was in track and field in high school, and I was one of the throwers. I did shot put and discus, so we were in the weight room all the time. So I know what we did was for a lot of our core and legs, but you don't have a personal trainer. You're not really,
Right.
Did you pick a workout regimen based on the muscles you knew you wanted to work on, or did you just do a bunch of YouTube searching and be I like you?
Yeah, I feel there's a little bit of both. So I feel when I started weightlifting, that would have been back in 15 or 16, maybe, that I sort of did it seriously.
Would this be when you bought the squat rack, or were you doing it beforehand?
No, that was way later. I bought the squat rack in 2020, maybe. I might have been during COVID.
It was during COVID because you were I have a home gym now. What's up? And I was
sick.
Dang, bro.
Yeah. So I hadn't really, I went to a gym for years and like honestly still might go back at some point too because there's like some benefits to that and we can talk about that too, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so no, it was like 2015 or 2016 somewhere in college. I think some of my friends wanted to start weightlifting and so we like didn't really know what we were doing, and I feel like that's pretty common. Not to say that I'm like considerably more in the loop on the activity now, but I feel like I know a lot more than maybe my physique would suggest. So
no, I think you do because of the amount of times you tell me about like someone other, you know, either it's someone on YouTube that you follow or, you know, just to get tips or something. You've talked about that quite a bit. So I do think you have a little bit more knowledge, especially for someone like, I don't think my boyfriend James has any knowledge about weightlifting.
sure.
Before coming on, I even asked him like, "Hey, if you were to have a question for Matt about weightlifting, what would it be?" And he went, how do you know how do you know what muscles to work?"
Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it depends on what level you're going into it, but if you're somebody who's like kind of just looking for a good workout, I try and do pretty big movements. People will say like the big three movements, which is like your squat, your bench, and your deadlift. Those are like the three that I would work on most often because they're like full body movements. They hit a ton of, or I shouldn't say full body necessarily in like the case of a bench, but they hit a lot of muscles. So you're not just targeting one muscle, you're targeting like a system of muscles. So I think that is one of the reasons that like it's pretty easy. Like you can go in and you can just say like I'm going to do something that hits my whole upper body, or like I'm going to go in and I'm going to squat and that's going to just kill me. But like a weightlifting workout typically is going to kind of gas out like a particular set of muscles, and I think it's pretty easy to find a program early on, which is what I ended up doing after I maybe lifted like casually for years. I eventually found like a pretty simple program. And it's actually going back to what I'm doing right now. It's actually, I'm moving back to that program because I haven't worked out like consistently with like a specific like weightlifting routine for a while here, just with work and everything. So I'm actually going back to, it's called Strong Lifts 5x5, which is like a very basic rudimentary one.
Okay, I was gonna ask if that was a good beginner routine if someone was looking to, you know, potentially get into weightlifting, whether it's for, you know, the first time or getting back into it from, you know, like maybe someone like me who was like, oh yeah, I did this in high school because I was an athlete, but I haven't really lifted weights since.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So I've done other routines as well, and this is the one that I come back to, especially whenever I feel like if I take a big break or I go on vacation and I come back and, you know, don't get back into the gym for a little bit.
Yeah.
Or especially like I had like a bunch of back issues a couple of years ago because I was just sitting in an office chair all day, which is probably pretty relatable.
Shout out to standing desks though.
I wish I had one.
I have one. It's amazing. Ugh.
Yeah, that's my fault though, because I work from home, so I could get myself one if I want to.
That's true.
But yeah, so I had a bunch of back problems. So I'll like kind of cycle on and off this one, but it's really simple because all you're doing is like basically 5 big lifts, I guess. But you do squats every day. It's a 3-day-a-week workout routine, which is pretty manageable. So you do squats every time you work out. You do benching on like workout A, say. You would do your benching, and then you'll also do rows, so barbell rows. And then on day B, you do squats, you do overhead press, and you do deadlifts. So that's it. And you just alternate that workout. And it's 5x5 outside of deadlifts. Basically, you're always doing 5 sets of 5 reps. So really simple stuff. And a set is just basically an amount of reps that you're doing, and a rep is just like one movement. So really simple stuff, but I like it a lot because it's really quick to progress in it. And it's also like stupid simple. Like you really don't have to think about it. There's a lot of other workout routines that are like beginner friendly or focused on people who don't lift a lot. And they do like more percentages and stuff like that. And I just hate that. I like this one is so like, okay, you did it. Okay, add weight. Like, do it again. And then you just do it again. You like progress a little bit slower, but I think it like helps you get into the routine a lot better. Oh,
that sounds like a much more approachable way for someone to get into it, as you know, to progress slower, I think, is a good thing. I mean, I've heard and seen people get hurt lifting weights that are too big for them too fast.
Yes.
But I was going to ask you too, with all the weightlifting, are you like consuming more protein? Like, are you drinking protein powder? Are you eating more meat?
I'm trying a little bit. Yeah.
Is that part of the whole weightlifting journey of like, okay, I want to get this much muscle mass on me. I have to be more conscious of the amount of protein I'm consuming. Do you even think about that, or is it just nah?
Yeah, I should think about it more, because that's probably like a big barrier for me, to be honest, is I just like don't want to think about it that much. But I also like don't gravitate towards like really protein dense meals. If I were to pick, I would almost always pick like very carb dense noodle based dishes.
Spaghetti. He's talking about spaghetti.
Yeah, I would like straight up make that every single day and never get any protein if I could. And so like that is a little bit tricky, but yeah, no, I'm trying to. I think with like protein specifically, it's hard to get as much as I think it's required or recommended for weightlifters to like actually build muscle really quickly. So my goal is just to try and do a little bit more and just watch what I'm eating a little bit more throughout the day.
Yeah.
I could go a lot more strict and like be very regimented and like count my calories and everything. And I probably will do that at some point again for a period of time, but haven't been right now.
No.
No.
I've been really bad about it too, but I also haven't. Lunch is weird at work now, but that's a different thing.
Yeah, I work from home, so lunch is like everything's pretty easy, to be honest, when it's a slow season for me and I don't do travel for work.
Oh yeah,
because I can just dictate whatever I want, and I'm home, so I can eat leftovers and I can, have small snacks and not have to carry them in 10 different containers to work. So it's like pretty manageable, but I don't know. I hate being like super strict with my food. Yeah. So my goal is just to do a little bit more protein and try and cut down on the junk food a little bit more.
Honestly, this could be a whole other topic. I guess it's not super. Well, I guess it could be a hobby. Healthy eating, clean eating. It's like, I'm a big believer of, unless it's, you're shouldn't eat it because it's damaging you, like you're allergic to it or you develop some sort of disease like gluten.
Yeah.
But I totally believe that you shouldn't just cold turkey something that you've been consuming for so long. Because in my experience, you just start craving it so much more.
Yeah.
If you just eat less of it, and then even eventually, like for example, soda for me is something now, even just a little bit is too sweet for me, and I can't drink a lot of it. Like I can drink like a couple of gulps, and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's weird because I used to I used to drink soda all the time.
Yeah, and I still do. And it's great.
I know.
It's delicious. I'm drinking one right now.
Oh, dang. What are you having?
It's a Dr. Pepper strawberries and cream, zero sugar.
Oh, man. That stuff's good.
Dude, it's real good. So, but yeah, no, like I don't like to cut out stuff, but I'm mainly just trying to focus on reducing snacking, because that's my big thing. Is it's not that I always eat tons of bad food. It's just that I eat, I snack a lot. So with kind of working out and going back to weightlifting a bit, like, yeah, you want to do more protein, but like I'm not a dietitian, so like I wouldn't take anything I say as gospel. I know like a lot of people will say like for your goal weight you want to be having, it's like 0.7 to like 1 gram of protein for every pound that your body is. So like if you're 200 pounds, you should eat like 200 grams or like 60 grams of protein, somewhere in that range. It's pretty hard. Okay. Like pretty freaking hard.
That's a lot of protein.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of meat like middle of the day usually. Like I'm not someone who does that. So I don't know. I probably will never get the results that I would like love to have unless I like really crack down on it. But I really don't care, because like the main reason I'm trying to do it is just to get stronger and also just to kind of keep moving.
So part of the getting stronger too is, and you do squats and whatnot, so that's technically should be strengthening your legs and knees. Would you then do more running or cardio, or would you ever get back into swimming?
Yeah, I could see doing like something like that. I would love to do like a workout that's not part of the downside, I would say, like with weightlifting for me, because I work out at home now because I have a home gym, as you alluded to earlier, which is great.
You do.
But it's like a pretty simplified home gym, so my routine is pretty simplified because of that. Yeah. And I also like going to a gym. Like, I didn't hate that when I was doing it. The thing that sucks is waiting for your turn for the machine. But like, I have no issues with people being around me while I'm working out. That's not a problem. So, whereas I know like some people are pretty anxious about it. So like, that's not a problem for me. So yeah, I would like consider going back into like a group fitness course, or like maybe doing like swimming. Again, swimming is like a whole nother beast of a workout. So
yes,
that's like a totally separate thing. But I was, pretty active with swimming for a while, so I could see going back to that down the road.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because with weightlifting, as I said, you'll get stronger, and I wonder if you're gonna use that new strength to do other types of workouts, which, could be other episodes of this.
Yeah. I don't know. The only things that I've really like thought sounded interesting. Rock climbing definitely sounds interesting.
I love rock climbing. That will be a topic.
Yeah, I could see like part of me would love to try and do some form of like a martial art maybe, but I don't really know. Beyond that, like, the only other sport that I really enjoy doing that's not swimming is like volleyball. I really would love to play beach volleyball. Yeah, it's so much fun.
That's awesome. You should find like a league or something and do volleyball. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I could see that, or like, I don't know, even like tennis or pickleball or something like that, where it's just like a little bit more casual. That'd be fun too. I mean, not to say that tennis is casual, because they made a whole movie about how it's not casual at all.
Look,
a couple months ago.
I haven't seen the movie, but I grew up with a father who let's just say my brother and I would hold the rackets up to our faces to protect us, because our father just wham at and spike the ball at us.
Just spike the ball.
Yeah. So we weren't really playing tennis. It was more, don't get hit in the face.
Just don't get hit. Yeah. I've never really played tennis, but I could see that being like, as a casual sport, pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really have no idea. The main thing is like, I just feel like the main reason obviously I wanted to weightlift is like, it's really easy to do, super focused. Like, it's sometimes boring, but like, I know what I'm doing every time I go out into the garage, and I'm like, okay, these are what I'm doing today. Go do it. But then also like being able to build muscle, look better, like that's always great too.
Yes. So I guess, what is your advice to somebody who wants to get into weightlifting? Would you advise them to have a goal in mind, or is it, if it's something like I have a friend who I actually met when I was in London. He was going for bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And I will find you a picture of him.
Yeah, my wife actually supervised somebody who's like a IFBB pro. So
really?
like,
okay.
Yeah, like full-time pro bodybuilder, which is nuts.
I guess, I mean, obviously his whole regimen is going to be vastly different than yours.
Yeah.
So would you first recommend someone, knowing what their goal is?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, I don't think anyone's going to go in and think that's what they're going to do right away unless they're like super focused. So I think you can probably come in without having like an idea in mind of what your end goal is, especially if you're not doing like a pretty strict workout routine, because the time it takes you to develop as a lifter, you'll kind of know pretty quickly on whether or not you're enjoying it enough to keep going to a point that it's going to suck, right?
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, like the weight gets heavy enough, and it actually like comes quick. I think quicker for some people. Some it's just like doesn't happen, and they just get stronger and stronger, and then eventually they peter out at like ridiculous numbers. Yeah. But I would say that like you can like go in and start lifting and build some strength and build some muscle pretty quickly, and then determine like, okay, do I want to keep doing this and like go really hard into this? Like some people like to do like the power lifter route. Some people like to do like pivot and go into more of like a CrossFit route where they still do some weightlifting, but then they also do more like active cross training or like functional fitness stuff. And then there's like the bodybuilders who it's just like, hey, I want to look crazy. Yes. I want to look like what people, like aesthetically, goals or whatever, which are like usually like pretty advanced. Yep. Like that's like a whole process. I don't know. And then like there's obviously the extreme ends of any of those areas.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
My goal isn't any of those. My goal is to probably just stay active. I could see if I was going to go into any of them, it would probably be like a CrossFit workout, because I am not strong enough built for the role of a power lifter, and I would never do bodybuilding, because there's a lot of health concerns with that sport in general. So
Health concerns, and also, I mean, I don't think your wife would appreciate that.
yeah, listen, I'll go half the way there. If I look that good, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
But but like, yeah, like the pro bodybuilders are kind of on a different level. So I don't know. I like it a lot though. I feel like it's a nice sport, or like it's a sport, yes, but like it's a nice like workout routine that I can come back to again and again and not like I always feel like I get to grow in it. And I think that's the nice thing about weightlifting versus other sports is you can just see the numbers going up, you know?
Yeah.
Like the number go up. Like it's really easy to tell if you're progressing or not.
What is your PR?
Goodness, terrible. You shouldn't have asked me this.
You've been out for a while.
Right now, I'm not lifting too heavy. I only ever like squat like around 300 at like the max because I'm fairly weak for my height, I'll be honest. But I also am tall, so I have a little bit more issues with squatting.
You do.
I don't know what my bench would have been. And deadlift is probably somewhere around like 350, which is like pretty weak. But
I feel like I'm sure I can scroll through our text messages. I feel like you sent me like, "Hey, I benched this, new set."
Yeah,
and I guess I feel like I remember that, and me going, "Ooh, he's so strong now." Molly must be proud.
Yeah, I think that I always like have like petered out for one reason or another at like a particular level, but my goal is to like actually do some serious work this year, so we'll see.
All right, well, if you want, I can help keep you accountable. I'll just start texting you like, "Hey, did you work out this week?"
Yeah, I would love to do like a consistent squat at like 300 pounds, not like a rep, or sorry, not like a max, but like be able to like do my workout, which is strongest 5x5. Yeah, that would be insane if I get to that point. Insane. Molly knows a power lifter from her high school who I watched do reps of like 600 pounds or something squatting. Maybe it was more than that, and that's just never my goal. I don't want to do that. No, but yeah, like I don't know, just being able to like actually lift substantially. Yeah. And then also like the big thing that I'm running into now, probably just because I'm getting old, is like my joints. So like the main thing is like I'm also doing it for joint health, and I want to like do it really carefully, build really slowly. Like I'm going to go as slow as I can with this workout routine, just like slowly gradually get to a point where I'm feeling good about it, and slow up if my joints start hurting. And
as you should.
I'm not that old, but I think it's like very much like if you're really working out in your 20s, like early 20s, you can do a lot without running into issues. And then we're now in our late 20s. So we're not that old, but we're old enough that like you can't just do it. Like we feel it the next day. So
we sure do.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, okay. Something that I wanted to touch a little bit on is I would say, and maybe I'm just not in the world at all, but stereotypically weightlifting is not a very it's mostly masculine. It's very mainly men do it.
Yeah. I think it's different now, but like stereotypically, right? Like that's the thing. Outside of like squats, I feel like girls like now, especially nowadays, like squats are big for everybody. But
yes. And I wanted to ask if you've noticed any like change in the sport, if you've noticed more female weightlifters or more women doing that, because when I was in high school, I felt very out of place because I was growing muscle mass really fast. And as a teenage girl, it definitely made me feel self-conscious because I was suddenly stronger than a lot of boys.
Yeah.
And I looked like I was stronger. And I totally get the stereotypical like, don't want to put too much muscle on because I won't look feminine enough. Which is complete malarkey because,
Yeah, I don't think like you'll ever like I feel like that's like definitely shifted, right? Like so there's not too much of that, and I feel unless you really, really, really push yourself, like it's never an accident. Like you were a thrower, so like you were trying to build muscle and you build muscle, but like I would say like there's never going to be an issue where someone stumbles into being jacked, and if they do, that's sweet. True. Like that's awesome, and I wish it happened to me.
Can you just I'm sorry, I'm just imagining like, oh man, I just did one squat and suddenly my legs are steel.
Yeah, one too many. Yeah. Oh, I wish it could be me. So I don't know. I don't really think there's as much of a stigma or anything anymore. I feel like it's so common.
That's awesome.
And I feel like when I was going to the gym regularly, like, yeah, it was like probably 50-50 guys and gals, or men and women who are doing lifting. And so I don't know. I mean, there's some really strong people at like just like local gyms, and I feel there's like a lot of them are women, so like there's definitely a little bit more regularity for both. I don't know, it's like definitely not something I would concern yourself with if you're not accustomed to lifting. And I would say it's also really good because lifting gets your heart rate up pretty dramatically, so it's actually really good to burn calories with, and building muscle is also important for that. So if you're like trying to lose weight, the more muscle you have, the muscle burns more calories than fat tissue, so it's actually really helpful to have more muscle on you if you're trying to lose weight. So like in any capacity, I think it's really good for you to do.
Awesome, great advice. Because I like hearing that, because I mean I haven't been to a gym in a while, but as someone who really doesn't care and would happily go to the weight section to work out, because I just like working out my entire body. I just wanted to kind of have put that out there for maybe listeners who were thinking that. Yeah,
totally. I wouldn't worry about that so much.
I guess it was kind of leading into a question that we kind of asked on other episodes is would you say, like, is there anybody this wouldn't be for this hobby?
No, but I guess it depends on your physical limitations. So if you like really weren't able to do some of the movements, you might have to write those out. And that's like I guess that's like one of the big downsides of lifting, is there's like very like dogmatic ways of approaching it. So a lot of people online will tell you need to do X or Y lift, and that's the only way to be a lifter. And they might be right in the capacity that like you can't really be like an Olympic weightlifter if you don't do squats and if you don't do clean and press and like some of those like dynamic movements. But at the same time, like you can weightlift and you can do strength training, which I guess is like the more broad terminology. You can do strength training regardless of kind of who you are, and I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. So for example, like my mom doesn't really have any sort of strength in her knees. Like she's very weak with her knees specifically, so like she probably couldn't ever like do squats, even though everyone would say, like, oh, you got to do squats, that's the way to go, right? Like she wouldn't do that, but like she could do other sorts of like strength training with her legs, or like go to like a leg press or like some sort of machine and like actually do some work, and that way like build strength there. And so it's definitely something that you can kind of start with where you're at, and like ultimately it's going to benefit you no matter how far you go with it.
Right. So there are steps to get into more and more weightlifting. Like you can do a machine, you can do super lightweights. I know some people start with just the bar.
Yeah, you can also just do body weight too. And that's not necessarily weightlifting obviously, but like you can do like pull-ups, and you can do chin-ups and dips and push-ups and squats, and basically get a full body workout without having any equipment. But equipment just lets you go a little bit further because you can add on more weight than you are. So
exactly. More weight than you are, and you don't even have to eat more chips.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Will, but
I will. You might not, but I love chips. So yeah, I don't know. I like it though. I'm kind of glad to get back into it, because I felt like it's like working out in general is just one of those things that keeps your mind focused, I think. Like I'm not someone who has a ton of anxiety or stress, but I definitely could see that this year in particular, because I didn't do a lot, maybe not because, but like there's definitely a correlation to, me not working out. Also, like probably one of the most stressful years of work I had. So I think, not to say that those were linked, but I definitely think there's some element of, it probably would have helped me to be more regular.
Yeah.
So
more stress relief kind of workout. Yeah, I kind of agree with that though.
And I think it just like any sort of like self-improvement feels good to do and be consistent with.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Even if you're not like crushing it. Like I like I said, I've never really gone to a point where I would say I'm like, oh, I'm an experienced lifter, but I feel like I've done it for long enough that I should be. That being said, like I'm glad I do it. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Matt, for joining me. This another great episode. No, I'm just kidding. I was just going to ask if you had any other final thoughts before we close out the episode.
Not so much. I would say, like, if you're somebody who hasn't lifted before, like, go into a gym and, like, or if you have never gone into a gym before, like, see if you can pull a friend with you and go. But I wouldn't, like, get way into the weeds of it right away, because there's so much that you can go into, and there's people who have very specific approaches. There's people who have scientifically backed approaches. I would recommend just going into a gym and, like, doing a little bit with the machines and seeing what you like. And don't be scared to, like, try lifting the bar or try squatting the bar. But then from there, look at, like, a beginner program and see what you can do with it, and see if there's ways that you can kind of grow with that program and determine what you like doing and what you don't like doing. So, yeah.
That is solid advice.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've done it again and again because I keep restarting, but I also think, like, I don't know, getting over the initial hurdle of being scared to go into the gym, or getting, nervous when you see a bar on a rack and, like, what that looks like and how do you do it properly. Like, you'll work your way to it. So you don't need to go in and, like, nail it the first, like, I don't know, year that you work out, really. But, like, realistically, just getting in is going to be beneficial. Just getting in and, being careful about how much you do right away. Just be safe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, be safe. Yeah, also, like, oh my goodness, be safe. It's also, like, a potentially very dangerous sport at high levels, so be safe, use safeties, have spotters, and if you are at the level that you are, way beyond any of the advice I've just given you, like, please use a spotter also, because that's where, like, it actually gets, like, deadly. So, yeah. On that somber note, that's all I've got. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of So Recently. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something about weightlifting. I feel like I did, even though I've, done it before. So thank you, Matt. Cool. Yeah, glad I could provide some of my sage beginner lifter wisdom. The wisdom has been bestowed upon us. Yep. Cool. All right. Anyways, thanks again for listening, everybody. I've been Miranda. And I'm Matt. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. See y'all. Bye.